Okay, this is the public reading for October 5th, 2019. It's going to be Deuteronomy 31, Isaiah chapter 3, Revelation 14, and Psalm 22. So the Torah reading, Deuteronomy 31, the prophet reading, Isaiah 3, the New Testament reading, Revelation 14, and the Psalm is Psalm 22. Okay, let's get started with Deuteronomy 31. And Moses went and spoke these words to all Israel. And he said to them, I am 120 years old today. I am not able to go out and to come in any longer. And Yahweh said to me, You may not cross this Jordan. Yahweh your God is about to cross before you. He will destroy these nations before you, and you shall dispossess them. Joshua will be crossing before you, just as Yahweh promised. And Yahweh will do to them just as he did to Sihon and to Og, kings of the Amorites, and to their land which he destroyed with them. And Yahweh will deliver them to you before you, and you shall do to them according to every commandment that I have commanded you. Be strong and be courageous. You should not be afraid, and you should not be in dread from their presence, for Yahweh your God is the one going with you. He will not leave you alone, and he will not forsake you. Then Moses summoned Joshua, and he said to him in the presence of all Israel, Be strong and be courageous, for you will go with this people into the land that Yahweh swore to their ancestors to give to them, and you will give it to them as an inheritance. Yahweh is the one going before you. He will be with you, and he will not leave you alone, and he will not forsake you. You shall not be afraid, and you shall not be discouraged. So Moses wrote this Torah, and he gave it to the priests, the descendants of Levi, the ones carrying the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, and to all the elders of Israel. Then Moses commanded them, saying, At the end of 7 years, in the time of the year for canceling debts, during the Feast of Booths, when all Israel comes to appear before Yahweh their God at the place that he will choose, you shall read this Torah before all Israel in their hearing. Assemble the people, the men and the women and the little children, and your aliens that are in your towns, so that they may hear, and so that they may learn, and they may revere Yahweh your God, and they shall diligently observe all the words of this Torah. And then their children, who have not known, they too may hear, and they may learn to revere Yahweh their God all the days that you live on the land that you are crossing the Jordan to get there to take possession of it. Then Yahweh said to Moses, Look, you are about to die. Call Joshua and present yourselves in the tent of assembly, so that I may instruct him. So Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves in the tent of assembly. And Yahweh appeared in the tent in a column of cloud, and the column of cloud stood at the entrance of the tent. And Yahweh said to Moses, Look, you are about to lie down with your ancestors, and this people will arise, and they will play the prostitute after the foreign gods of the land to which they are going. And my anger shall flare up against them on that day, and I will forsake them, and I will hide my face from them, and they shall become as prey, and disasters and troubles shall find them. And they shall say on that day, Is it not because our God is not in our midst that these disasters have found us? But I will certainly hide my face on that day, because of all of the evil that they did, because they turned to other gods. And so then, write this song for yourselves, and teach it to the Israelites. Put it in their mouth, so that this song may be for me as a witness against the Israelites. For when I bring them into the land that I swore to their ancestors, a land flowing with milk and honey, they will eat their fill, and they will become fat. And then they will turn to other gods, and they will serve them, and they will spurn me, and they will break my covenant. And then many disasters and troubles will come upon them. And this song will give evidence before them as a witness, because it will not be forgotten from out of the mouth of their descendants. For I know their inclination that they are having today before I have brought them into the land that I swore. And Moses wrote this song on that day, and taught it to the Israelites. Then he told Joshua the son of Nun, and said to him, Be strong and be courageous, for you shall bring the Israelites into the land that I swore to them, and I will be with you. And then, when Moses finished writing the words of this Torah on the scroll until they were complete, then Moses commanded the Levites carrying the ark of the covenant of Yahweh, saying, Take the scroll of this Torah, and put it at the side of the ark of the covenant of Yahweh your God, and it will be there as a witness against you. For I know your rebellion and your stiff neck even now, while I am still alive with you today, rebelling against Yahweh, and how much more after my death? Assemble to me all the elders of your tribes and your officials, so that I may speak in their ears these words, and that I may call as witness against them heaven and earth. For I know that after my death you will certainly act corruptly, and you will turn aside from the way that I have commanded you. And the disaster in the future days will befall you, because you will do evil in the eyes of Yahweh. I'll read that sentence again. For I know that after my death you will certainly act corruptly, and you will turn aside from the way that I have commanded you, and the disaster in the future days will befall you, because you will do evil in the eyes of Yahweh, provoking him with the work of your hands. So Moses spoke into the ears of the assembly of Israel the words of this song until they were complete. Okay. We're in the prophet reading. It's Isaiah chapter 3. For look, the Lord Yahweh of hosts is removing every source of support from Jerusalem and from Judah, all of the supplies of bread, and all of the supplies of water. Mighty warrior and man of war, judge and prophet and diviner and elder, captain of 50 and the honorable men of rank, and counselor and skillful magicians and skillful enchanter. And I will make boys their princes, and children shall rule over them. And the people will be oppressed by each other, and a man by his neighbor. The boy will act arrogantly toward the elder, and the dishonorable toward the honorable. Indeed, a man will seize his brother in the house of his father. You have a cloak, you shall be a leader for us, and this heap of ruins shall be under your hand. He will lift up his voice on that day, saying, I will not be a healer. In my house there is no bread, and there is no cloak. You shall not make me the leader of the people. For Jerusalem has stumbled, and Judah has fallen, because their speech and their deeds are against Yahweh, defying the eyes of his glory. The look on their faces testifies against them, and they declare their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to their soul, for they have dealt out evil to themselves. Tell the innocent that it is good, for they shall eat the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked, it is bad, for what is done by his hands will be done to him. My people, children of their oppressors, and women rule over them. My people, your leaders are misleading you, and they confuse the course of your paths. Yahweh takes his stand to conduct a legal case, and takes his stand to judge the peoples. Yahweh enters into judgment with the elders of his people and its princes. And you have devoured the vineyard. The spoil of the poor is in your houses. Why do you crush my people and grind the face of the poor, declares the Lord Yahweh of hosts. And Yahweh said, Because the daughters of Zion are haughty, and they walk with outstretched neck, and they give flirting glances with their eyes, mincing along as they go, and with their feet they rattle their bangles, the Lord will make the heads of the daughters of Zion scabby. And Yahweh will lay their foreheads bare. In that day the Lord will take away the finery of the anklets, and the headbands, and the crescent necklaces, the pendants, and the bracelets, and the veils, the headdresses, and the armlets, and the sashes, and the perfume boxes, and the amulets, the signet rings, and the nose rings, the festal robes, and the mantles, and the cloaks, and the handbags, and the mirrors, and the linen garments, and the turbans, and the wraps. And this shall happen. There will be a stench instead of perfume, and a rope instead of a sash, and baldness instead of a well-set hairdo, and a clothing wrap of sackcloth instead of a rich robe, branding instead of beauty. Your men shall fall by the sword, and your warriors in battle. And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she shall be banished. She shall sit upon the ground. Okay, the New Testament reading is Revelation 14. And I looked, and behold, the Lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 who had his name and the name of his Father written on their foreheads. And I heard a sound from heaven like the sound of many waters, and like the sound of loud thunder. And the sound that I heard was like harpists playing on their harps. And they were singing something like a new song before the throne and before the four living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn the song except the 144,000 who had been brought from the earth. These are those who have not been defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are the ones who follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These were bought from humanity as firstfruits to God and to the Lamb, and in their mouth a lie was not found. They are blameless. And I saw another angel flying directly overhead, having an eternal gospel to proclaim to those who reside on the earth, and to every nation and tribe and language and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come, and worship the one who made the heaven and the earth and the sea and the springs of water. And another second angel followed, saying, Fallen, Fallen is Babylon the Great, who caused all the nations to drink from the wine of the passion of her sexual immorality. And another third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If anyone worships the beast in his image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he himself also will drink of the wine of the anger of God that has been mixed full strength in the cup of his wrath, and will be tortured with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torture went up forever and ever, and those who worshipped the beast and his image did not have rest day and night, along with anyone who received the mark of his name. Here is the patient endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and the faith in Yeshua. And I heard a voice from heaven saying, Write, Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, in order that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow after them. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud was seated one like a son of man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel came out of the temple, crying out with a loud voice to the one seated on the cloud, Send out your sickle and reap, because the hour to reap has come, because the harvest of the earth is ripe. And the one seated on the cloud swung his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel came out of the temple that is in heaven. He also had a sharp sickle. And another angel who had authority over the fire went out from the altar, and he called out with a loud voice to the one who had the sharp sickle, saying, Send out your sharp sickle and harvest the clusters of grapes from the vine of the earth, because its grapes are at their prime. And the angel swung his sickle into the earth and harvested the vine of the earth, and threw the grapes into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was stumped outside the city, and blood went out from the winepress up to the bridles of the horses. About 1,600 stadia. Okay, and the psalm is Psalm 22. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you far from helping me, far from the words of my groaning? O my God, I call by day, and you do not answer, and by night, but I have no rest. Yet you are holy, enthroned on the praises of Israel. Our ancestors trusted you. They trusted, and you delivered them. They cried to you and were saved. They trusted you and were not ashamed. But I am a worm and not a man, scorned by humankind and despised by people. All who see me mock me. They open wide their lips, they shake their head, saying, He trusts Yahweh, let him rescue him, let him deliver him, because he delights in him. Yet you took me from the belly. You made me trust while on my mother's breasts. On you I was cast from the womb. From my mother's belly you have been my God. Do not be far from me, because trouble is near, because there is no helper. Many bulls have encircled me. Mighty bulls of Bashan have surrounded me. They open their mouth against me like a lion, tearing and roaring. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted within me. My strength is dry like a potsherd, and my tongue is sticking to my jaws, and you have placed me in the dust of death. Because dogs have surrounded me, a gang of evildoers has encircled me. Like the lion, they are at my hands and feet, or they have pierced my hands and feet. I can count all my bones. They gaze, they look at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Yahweh, do not remain distant. O my help, hasten to help me. Rescue my life from the sword, my only life from the power of the dogs. Save me from the mouth of the lion and from the horns of the wild oxen. Answer me. I will tell your name to my brothers. Inside the assembly I will praise you. You who revere Yahweh, praise him. Glorify him, all you seed of Jacob, and be in awe of him, all you seed of Israel. Because he has not despised nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, and has not hid his face from him, but he listened to him when he cried for help. From you is my praise. In the great assembly I will pay my vows before those who revere him. The afflicted will eat and will be satisfied. Those who seek him will praise Yahweh. May your heart live forever. All the ends of the earth will remember and turn to Yahweh. All the families of the nations will worship before you. because the kingship belongs to Yahweh, and he rules over the nations. All the healthy ones of the earth will eat and worship. Before him, all of those descending into the dust will kneel, even he who cannot keep his soul alive. Descendants will serve him. Regarding the Lord, it will be told to the next generation. They will come and tell his saving deeds to a people yet to be born, that he has done it. Okay? Blessings.